So hi there everybody and welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make up one of these fabulous Hexi-Puff coasters. So as you can see, this is a hexagon made up of these lovely puff stitches. Now just by the nature of these stitches, it does make quite a nice thick fabric, so hence ideal for coasters. You could make them into placemats maybe by going out further, but obviously you can make them whatever size you like. Once you get the method, you can just go to whatever size you feel like. I have made a slightly smaller one here. It's made up of the puff stitches and then at the end I just put a border around. So this is ideal size for maybe a face scrubby. As I say, you can make coasters or you can carry on and make washcloths. This is just a brilliant way of using up your oddments of maybe cotton. You could perhaps leave the border off and just make the hexagon, and then perhaps you could sew them all together, maybe in a long line, and make a Hexi-Puff scarf, or they will all fit together. If you make them the same size, they will all fit together. I mean, obviously this one's smaller, but just to show you, they will all fit together and maybe make a flat fabric, so ideal for blankets. But in today's tutorial, I'm just going to show you this example here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds of the puff stitches. Then, as I say, we add a border, just perfect for coasters. For my example, I'm going to be using an Aran weight yarn, which I believe is a number 4 weight yarn. I'm using 100% cotton. I'm going to be using my favourite crochet hooks, these Clover and More hooks. I'm going to be using a 5mm, or that's an H hook. Obviously, you're going to need a small pair of scissors, a darning needle with a nice eye there for your ends, and it may be useful to have a stitch marker. It's not essential. If you have problems going around and knowing where you started, you can always mark it with a stitch marker. So I'm going to start by using the magic circle. If you really struggle with this, you can always chain 4 and then join those to form a loop. But this is how I do my magic circle. So my working yarn is at the front. I'm going to wrap around those 2 fingers. I'm going to go under with my hook, grab that yarn, pull it through. Then, making sure I grab hold of my working yarn, not my tail, I'm just going to pick that up and I'm going to chain to secure. Okay, I'm going to take that end out. I know that's the magic circle, because when I pull on my tail end, it will close up nicely. Okay, so we're going to start round 1 with the puff stitches. So here is round 1. We're going to be putting in 6 puff stitches and then making the hexagon corners. So to do a puff stitch, what we do is we yarn over first, we go through that circle, grab the yarn and then just pull the yarn up. So you need to keep this quite loose. We're not going to finish this stitch off yet by pulling through. We're going to do that once again. So yarn over, through the circle, grab the yarn, pull through, and then just pull it up a little bit. So it's like you're just turning your hook, so you want these to be nice and loose. We're going to do that once more. It's yarn over, push through, grab the yarn, pull through, and then just turn your hook so you're pulling that yarn up slightly. So then if we want to go ahead and count the loops on our hook, we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So this is the figure that we want on our hook before. We just grab that yarn, turning your hook towards you so it's aiming down. You're going to just gently pull the yarn all through the loops. Now, here's just a tip. If you're a real beginner, I'm using cotton yarn. When you practice doing these puff stitches to start with, I would stick to acrylic because the cotton yarn does tend to split, so it will sort of add to the confusion if you're not used to doing these puff stitches. But once you're a bit more proficient, you'll find these are quite nice and easy and very therapeutic to do. So what we're going to do, we need to make a corner, so we're going to chain 2. So every time in this project when we make a corner, we're going to chain 2. Now we need to make the next puff stitch. So again, we're going to yarn over, push through that centre, grab the yarn, pull through, and then just pull that yarn up. Yarn over, push through, grab the yarn, pull through, and then just pull that hook up, keeping these nice and loose. We're going to do that in total for each stitch 3 times, so we need to do it again. Yarn over, push through that centre, pull through, and then just pull that hook up. So again, let's just check. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on our hook. We're going to pull the yarn through all of those loops, so grab and then make sure you turn your hook downwards so that it won't ping off, and then you're going to pull through all of those loops. Sorry, that was my phone. So we have 1, 2 puff stitches. We're going to make another corner, so we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. We need to put another 4 puff stitches in this centre. So here we go again with the third one. It's yarn over, push through the centre, grab that yarn, pull through, then pull that hook up. Yarn over, push through, grab the yarn, pull through, pull that hook up. Once more, yarn over, push through, grab the yarn, pull through, and then just pull that hook up. Then we need to pull this yarn all the way through, always remembering, turn this hook down, and then just gently all through those loops. Okay, that last one sometimes is a little difficult. You could maybe do that one separately. We need another corner. We're going to chain 2. So you may need to shuffle your puff stitches around. We have 1, 2, 3, another 3 to go. So here we go, number 4. So pull through. That's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we always do it 3 times. You can then just check you've got 7 loops. Then you're going to grab the yarn and pull through all 7 loops. I've got 4 puffs, so we're going to do this twice again. We need to chain 2 for a corner, and here we go again with puff number 5. Chain 2. Number 6. Now if you notice my original tail end I am working over. That's not essential if you're not used to doing that. Sometimes it adds to the confusion, but once you know what you're doing, you can just work over your tail end. Okay, so what I have now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 puff stitches. Before we join, I need to do another corner, so that's a chain 2, and then we need to join to make our hexagon. What I'm now going to do on that original tail end, I'm going to pull on that so the center closes up nicely. Then we're going to join. Now if you look here, this is our original chain 1 up. We don't want to join in there. We don't want to join in the first stitch of our puff. We're going to join in this one here. So it's the top slightly to the left stitch of your puff. We are just going to do a slip stitch, so push your hook through, grab the yarn, pull through, and the one that is on your hook. And if you pull these corners out, you can see we have a tiny little hexagon. So to start round 2, and for every other round, we need to slip stitch across to this chain 2 corner here. So again, it's just slip stitch, pull through, and the yarn that's on your hook. Okay, my yarn doesn't want to play today. And then we're going to start. Now, if you were going to do each round a different colour, before you slip stitch across to the corner, just fasten off, then you can add your new colour in the corner. So we are going to start each round in the corner. So that's just a tip. If you want to change colour, each round that you go out, just fasten on your new colour in the corners. So this is round 2. We're going to start just by chaining 1 up, and then we're going to do a puff stitch. So here we go. So it's yarn over, pull through, and that's 2. Each puff stitch we do this 3 times. So if you're ever unsure, just check that you have those 7 loops on your hook. Pull through, and then this is in the corner, so you just want to cinch these stitches across. Each corner we're going to chain 2. In this space, in this round, we're going to put in another puff stitch. So remember, that's 3 times. And then pull through all of those stitches. Okay, and there you have a corner. Now, like with the granny squares, we're going along to this next corner. So we just want to chain 1. That just allows us to hop over to this next chain 2 space from the round before, and that's our corner. In this space, we're going to do 1 puff stitch, chain of 2, 1 puff stitch. Oops, sorry, I just knocked you. So that's 1 puff stitch, chain of 2. You might need to just cinch those around, use your nails to just pull the bottom of those stitches round. And then another puff stitch. 2, 3, and then pull through. It's always that last one. It's not wanting to play today. It's not so easy when you're looking through the camera. So what we're going to do, we need to jump to this corner here. We're going along the side. So we do a chain 1 to get us across to this next corner. So again, in this corner here, we're going to do 1 puff stitch, chain 2, and a puff stitch. Sorry, I knocked you again. What am I doing? So chain 2. Again, I cinch them round, and a puff stitch. Again, we're going along the side to top to this corner, so it's chain 1, then it's puff stitch, chain 2 and puff stitch. You're soon going to get the hang of this. Chain 2, cinch that round, puff stitch. So you notice now we've got 2 more corners to go. So along the side, chain 1, jump to the corner, and you know what to do. It's puff stitch, chain 2 and a puff stitch. We have 1 more corner. We're going along the side to get there, so it's chain 1, and then we're going to work our corner, puff stitch, chain 2, puff stitch. So now we want to join at the beginning, but remember we're still going along that side to get there. So we need to remember to put in our chain 1. That will just make it nice and even all the way around. We will join as we did before, so this is the chain 1 up. This is our first stitch. We don't want to join there, we want to join in this second stitch, so slightly the left side of the top of that puff. We are going to do our slip stitch, and we have joined. So to start round 3, again we want to jump to that corner, just slip stitch into there. Now you will always have 6 corners, and then you'll have 6 sides. So the sides will grow, the corners will always be the same. So we're going to start round 3 by doing a corner. So we're going to chain 1 up, then we're going to do a puff stitch, a chain 2 and then a puff stitch. So we've done our first corner, we're going to go across. Our next corner is here where the chain 2 space is. In between times, and as you go out, you'll get more of these. You just have this single chain 1 space here. So to get to that, again, we're going to do a chain 1. In this single space here, we are going to put 1 puff stitch. So it's very similar to the granny squares, how they grow out. It's a very similar technique. So obviously the further you go out, the single chain 1 spaces will grow. So you just have to pay attention. You don't want to put corners in when you're going along the straight. So before we get to this corner here, again, chain 1. Then in this corner, we're going to do our puff stitch corner. So that's puff stitch, chain 2, puff stitch. That's corner 2. Again, we're going along the side. You have this space, this chain 1 space. To get there, we're going to do a chain 1. We're going to put 1 puff stitch in that single chain 1 space. Still going along the side to get to this corner, so it's chain 1, then it's a corner, puff stitch, chain 2, puff stitch. So once more, we're going along the side, we're going into this chain 1 space, so it's chain 1. We're going to put in a single puff stitch. To get to this corner, we're going to do a chain 1. And then work our corners. So just carry on around. When we get to our corners, you know it's puff stitch, chain 2, puff stitch. When we're going along the side in these chain 1 spaces, single puff. Make sure you're chaining first, a single puff stitch, chain 1, and then work your corner. I will catch up with you before we finish round 3. So I'm coming around to finish round 3. I've worked my corner. I've chained 1 to bring me along. There will be 1 single left to do. Now where we start, it tends to bunch up a little bit where we put our chain 1 up to start. So make sure when you're finishing to go in that last single space there. So I've done my chain 1. I'm going to, in here, put a single puff stitch. Okay, make sure you then still chain 1. We're still going across to join. This was our chain 1 up. This was our first stitch. So we're going to join in that second stitch there. Okay, so finishing with a slip stitch. Then we're going to do another slip stitch across to that corner so that we can start our round 4. So for my coaster size, this is just going to be the 4 rounds. Obviously, you'll see what happens on the sides. That's the only thing that changes. The corners stay exactly the same, but I'll explain as we go around. So here we go with round 4. We're going to start with a corner, which you know you start chain 1. And then we're off with the puff stitch, chain 2 and puff stitch. Now you will notice going along to the corner, we're going to have 2 of these single chain spaces from the round before. Now if you were to carry on out and do round 5, you would have 3 of these single spaces and so on. It would increase each time, but it's just each time you just need to look at your work and think, right, I'm going along the side, so I need to just chain 1, go to this first side space here and put in a single puff. I'm still going along, I haven't got to my corner yet. There's another single chain space here, so I'm going to chain 1, put another single puff in that space. Now I'm still going across to this corner here, so I need to chain 1. Then I need to jump to this corner and do another corner, which is puff, chain 2 and puff. So you can see the sides become quite a bit longer now, so you can really see where those corners are. So again, along this side, remembering to chain 1 first, we're going to put in a single puff, chain 1, single puff, chain 1, and then work this corner. And then you're going to carry along all the way around, and I will meet you back here. So coming around to finish round 4, I've done my corner, chain 1, I've done my single puff, I've chained 1. Always remember to look for that last space, as I said, because we do our chain 1s before we start. This one is always harder to find. Make sure we put our puff in that last space. Okay, 3, pull through. Okay, again, we're still going across. Chain 1, not our chain 1, not this first stitch, but we're going to slip stitch in that second stitch there, and we have joined, and that is how you're going to grow. So again, we're going to slip stitch across. So if you want to grow from here on, you would start with your corner. And as you can see, we now have 2 single puffs going along, which means you've got 3 spaces to put your single puffs in. And that would be just increase 1 each round. So you could just carry on until you get to, whatever size you want. You could even make up a rug maybe. But we're not going to do that. We're just now going to put our border on. So I'm going to be using UK doubles, which is US single crochet, just to put a nice neat border. Again, you could now change colour. So before you slip stitch, you just fasten off and then change your colour in the corner. But I'm just going to stick to this lovely turquoise because that's, if you know me, that's my colour. So we're going to chain 1 up. When we come back around, we're not going to slip stitch in there. That just gives us some height. In just these corners, I'm going to put 3 UK doubles. Now, as I say, that is US singles. So just to recap, there's no yarn over. You're just grabbing the yarn, pull through, grab the yarn, pull through. 2. So that is our UK double, US single. So we want to put 3. I've done 1, 2, and 3. Now at this stage, if you're going to be unsure where we started, some people struggle with their smaller stitches. Now is the time to mark the first stitch, not your chain 1 up. So we did 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to mark that stitch there. So that's just if you have problems identifying that stitch as you come round. So now you can see our first puff going along. Just look at the stitch at the top, that lovely V there. We're going to put a double crochet in there. We're going to double crochet in each space. Oops. There's a puff, double crochet at the top. double crochet in the space, next puff, double crochet, another space, just one double crochet. The top of this puff we're going to put one double crochet. So we're at our first corner here, sorry, our second corner because we started in the corner. In each corner we're going to put 3 stitches. Okay, that just allows us to go around the corner and keep that nice hexagon shape. Okay, so you've got a nice sort of sharp turning corner there. So again, going along the side, you've got a stitch at the top of that puff. Then we have a space. Then at the top of the puff. Then in the space. In the top of that puff. In the space. Then in the top of that puff. Now again we're in the corner space, so that's 3. 1, 2 and 3. Then we start again, so it's 1 in the top of a puff, in the space, top of the puff, in the space. Make sure you get this last puff as well. Then in the corners you put 3 and you just carry on all the way around, and I will meet you to fasten off. So I've gone all the way around, and I think you'll agree putting those 3 stitches in the corner really sort of defines that nice hexagon shape. So I've put a stitch in the top of this puff. Again, I just want to make sure that I'm getting that space, that final space there. Okay, so I've put a stitch in there. Now normally we'd try and get one in the top of this puff, but because that's all sort of connected in here, I literally just go across and do a slip stitch in the that stitch, the first double crochet of that round. Okay, so I've marked mine with the stitch marker, so you can either do the same or you may just know where that is. Okay, now normally to fasten I would do a chain 1 and cut my yarn, but I'm not actually going to do that yet. I want to keep a nice edge around here, so I'm going to allow enough yarn to sew in my end and just cut. Okay, and then I'm just going to pull through. Okay, so this isn't secure at the moment, so just thread my needle, and then I will try my best to show you this on camera. So I'm sort of taking this yarn. If you can see, I'm going to put my needle under that next sort of V to the left, and then I'm going to pull my yarn through, and that's just going to take that loop down nicely. And what I can do then is use the back of these loops here to tie off my yarn. Okay, so you cannot, what I'm going to do is just go to and fro. So if you know me, I like to do this 3 ways. So I go 1 way, just using those loops at the back, go another way, and then once more, and that should be nice and secure. It's unlikely because I've gone 3 ways. When you stretch this out, although the cotton doesn't stretch that much, it shouldn't give, so those ends won't come out. So then what you're going to do is cut your yarn as close to your work as you dare. I need some sharper scissors. Then I'm going to do the same with this original tail end. I've already worked one way, so I'm just going to use these stitches, go one way again, and I'll show you my finished result. So there you go, my Hexi-Puff coaster. Aren't they just cute? Now do let me know how you get on with yours. Leave me some comments down below. Please do give me a thumbs up, and I will see you here next time. Bye bye.